class. In this video, we're going to be going over our topic for assignment, content language strategies. So in this assignment, you're taking that chart that you started in topic 2, and now you're working on part 2 of that chart. Let's go ahead and jump over to that chart to see what we have to do. So part 2 has you identify vocabulary terms that are related to the standard and the 5E model that you wrote in part 1. So I focused on sound for this. So I'm going to find now academic vocabulary terms that students will need to know as a part of this unit. For my example, I chose vibrations because that's an important part of sound. Once you choose that term, you're going to think of an instructional strategy for explicitly teaching that term. So when we look at this chart, we have 2 parts. 1, how am I going to teach it? And 2, how will students practice it? Now, for the instructional strategy for explicitly teaching, you need a strategy for the teaching, identify the key terms, and instructional strategy for teaching the terms, and 2 activities that you could implement here. So when I read this, I have the question of, am I writing an instructional strategy in each box, or is that how I'm teaching all of the terms? Am I writing an activity in each box, or do I only need 2 activities? And that's often the question I most get around this assignment. Well, you want to fill in a unique strategy for each term that you identify. And you only need 1 teaching strategy for each box. So in this one, I might choose to use Realia. In the next one, I might choose to do something like the Frayer model. And in the next one, I might choose to do something else. What you're doing is you're showing how the different ways vocabulary can be taught and showing unique ways to teach vocabulary. But sometimes we would maybe use the same strategy for multiple words. But this is just showing the diversity and the ways that you can teach things differently. So in this box, you need 1 strategy, and in this box, you need 2 per word. Now that we've cleared that up, I want to show you with my example, vibrations. So here we have vibrations as my academic vocabulary term, and I'm going to teach this just by using Realia, having students grab a real life object and explore what vibrations look and feel like. Everybody grab, let's say, what do I have in here? A pencil, right? And I want you to maybe tap that on your desk. You feel the vibration on your desk. I want you to hold your throat when you talk. Do you feel the vibration when you talk? And so that's what Realia looks like. Now, practice activities, I only wrote 1, but you're going to want to make sure you put 2 in each box. So charades, students will pull a card with a vocabulary term and a definition and act out the term. Other students guess what it is. Once they guess it, the students will discuss a kid-friendly way to describe the word and put it in their vocabulary terms. So then you also need to identify your speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So you can see I have speaking skills that are being used when they're making guesses. Listening skills are being used by the student that's acting out the term, as well as the other students participating. Reading is used by the students who are reading the term and the definition. And then students are writing kid-friendly definitions. So you want to include all 4 aspects of language, reading, writing, listening, and speaking in there. And then I would come up with one other way to have students practice. Do make sure that you think about maybe a way to use technology. Technology is a great way to incorporate into practicing, and it could be a vocabulary game or something that we learned about in this week's reading or discussion forums. After you finish your vocabulary chart, you're going to move down to your differentiation strategies. And you're just going to identify 2 strategies that can be employed to meet the needs of ELL students while teaching your academic vocabulary terms. So just give me a couple of strategies for those students who are language learners. For example, Your word might be something what we call a cognate. Cognates are words in another language that sound very similar to our English version. For example, communication is a word that's a cognate. In English, we say communication. In Spanish, we say comunicación. And so those are what we call cognates. So I might say, I'm going to use the cognate for the words that have cognates that sound much like the Spanish version. Or you might choose to use a picture dictionary or some of the different things that we've talked about in our forum this week. After you identify 2 differentiation strategies for ELL students, I want you to go down to these communication techniques. Explain why it's important for us to use both verbal and nonverbal communication methods to encourage the active inquiry, exploration, and then include examples. So here you'll tell me why it's important. And here you're going to give me those examples of a verbal method and then a nonverbal method. Make sure that your instructional activities or your practice activities, whether it's your differentiation strategies or either of these 2 boxes, teaching and practicing, are supported with scholarly resources. We want to use 2 to 3 on this assignment. If you have any questions as you're working through this assignment, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a wonderful day.